I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.
So this week, the IAB MENA, the Internet Advertising Bureau, released their annual market sizing spend report. Augustus Media are a board member of the IAB, and this year's figure was $5.5 billion for 2022 in digital revenue, of which it grew 20% over 2021, a huge number. And that was a big event that I was involved in and attended this week. But also in the news, never a dull week, in transactions and football transfers and business deals and investments. One of the headlines is that the PIF in Saudi has merged DP World Tour, the golf, of which Love and Dubai are a media partner every year, and also Live Golf, the Saudi new golf startup, and then the PGA. So that was a big golf business story. And then more in sort of hardware, software announcements, Apple came out with their much awaited headset, the Vision Pro, of which is pricey sum of some $3,500. So we'll see how many people will be walking around the Dubai streets with a Vision Pro on pretty soon. I'm sure it's a status symbol. This week's a really interesting startup story, business story in Dubai. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Welcome back to another episode of Dubai Works Business Podcast. Today, we are live with Aisha Leitner, who is the CEO of Party Camel, a one-stop online party shop and retail store, bringing its consumers the most inspiring, design-led partyware and innovative gifts from around the globe. So we're going to hear about how Aisha started the Party Camel, and we'll talk all about the marketplace, competition, and plans for the future. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So tell us a bit about Party Camel.
Okay, so Party Camel, I started Party Camel 10 years ago in 2013 when I had my daughter and I was planning her first birthday party. It's a classic story where I couldn't find the things that I needed in the market. And then that's where the idea started of having a party shop. But what that would look like, or it took me another 2 years and another baby and him turning one. When I finally went again, I'm like, okay, we wanted to have the Hungry Caterpillar as his first birthday theme, and I couldn't find anything locally again. I ordered the things in the UK, and the package my husband was visiting, he was supposed to bring it back. He didn't arrive on time, and it was a bit of a disaster. So I think that's when my husband said to me, well, you need to stop talking about this party shop idea that you have and maybe do something. So that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to start a party shop, and it's going to be online at the time because I wanted to work around the kids and work around the hours. And so that's when the idea of Party Camel came about.
I think a lot of people can relate to the story you talked about in terms of not being able to find things and also spotting gaps in the market. Is a general a way to start a startup, but also in particular in the UAE around commerce and purchasing and retail. But having the idea and seeing a gap and executing it are two very different things. So was your background in e-commerce or marketing, or was there anything skills that you could relate to that you could put into the Party Camel?
No, would be the honest answer. No, my background is in HR, and I did something completely different. But once I had the kids, I naively thought, well, how difficult could it be? I could do I could buy bring in some things. I could start in my storeroom. I could have a web shop. I could partner with a delivery partner, and we can go from there.
Simple.
And obviously, it's been it's easy as that. And obviously, it's been a huge learning curve, and one I'm very grateful for. So yes, it's 10 years in May now, but I think I've learned a lot along the way. So had I probably sat down and did all the market research and everything else, I'm not sure I would have embarked on this journey. But having said that, it's been amazing. Yeah, overall, it's been an amazing journey.
We'll go into some of the journey, but so just to bring us up to speed to where you are today. So, your presence online is, it looks like any other well-established e-commerce business.
Yes.
What does that look like behind the scenes? Are there numbers you can reveal? Are there number of people employed, or how many items do you ship in a year, or something like that?
Yes, of course. So just to give you an idea of the scale, yes. So we have 2 warehouses in the heart of Dubai. They're based in Al Quoz, just off as you come off Al Manara. They're just right by Al Circle Avenue. So if you go on First Al Khail, you can't miss us. It's a big mint warehouse with lots of confetti dots on it and a camel outside. So
Cool.
that's Party Camel. And we moved to those premises about 2 years ago, and that's when we decided to have a physical shop as well, because a lot of people wanted to come and touch and feel the products and see them. So initially we started off as an e-commerce online shop, and then we've added the walk-in shop there as well. So we've got the 2 warehouses there, and we also distribute luxury party and gifting brands. And we work with around 50 retailers around the UAE and the GCC. And we work with... we've worked with a lot of like Virgin Megastores, with Waitrose, with Spinneys, with Galeries Lafayette, and of course with the online as well. We work with Mum's World, with First Cry, so we supply all of these places in wholesale. So it's all your party decorations, your tableware, games, gifts for children, and then we have the retail side as well, where we sell direct to consumer.
Sounds like a large operation.
It does, but it's a small team, so there's 10 of us, and we manage, and everybody, as you would in a small business, we kind of help each other, we wear multiple hats, we do what needs to be done. So, yeah.
And good HR, obviously.
Well,
good team. But no, it's fascinating. And so just to break that down a little bit, so when you're supplying to as a distributor, are they your own products? So is Party Camel branded on these products? Is that how you do it?
The majority of the products are from international, well-established brands within the industry. So we select the brands it's very niche brands. For example, Mary Mary Party, they've been around for maybe more than 25 years, the best in the industry. So I'm very particular about, I only pick the best of the best. And they do brand new spring, summer collections, autumn, winter. So it's a bit like fashion, if you will. And we have catalogs every season, and we cater to, of course, everyday parties. But then, of course, you have all your seasonal. And in Dubai, we're in a very unique position where we celebrate everything. I'm Muslim, and my husband is German. And we celebrate in our house. We celebrate Christmas, we celebrate Halloween, Easter, Eid, Ramadan. Everything, and I love that as well, and I love the diversity of Dubai, because we're in a place where we're able to share that with our friends and our neighbors and all the different occasions. So we cater to all of those. And one gap I did see in the market is a long time ago, and I kind of wanted to start with that the market overall globally is very catered towards, say, Christmas and Halloween and all the things that everybody celebrates. But when it comes to Ramadan and Eid, I found that you couldn't find the beautiful, nice products on that scale, that on a premium level, whether it's buntings, whether it's tableware, anything to make that occasion a little bit more special and to get children excited as well. Like, I think kids are very excited when it comes to Christmas. I remember even when I was younger, I always wished Father Christmas would come to our house, but of course we were Muslim, so he never came. So I wanted something there for children to be excited about Eid as well and about Ramadan. So we've created collections for Ramadan and for Eid, and we've also done that in collaboration with one of our brands, which is Mary Mary Party. And they collaborate with big brands. They're in Harrods, they're in Selfridges. It's a very established brand. So we've created a collection to cater towards Ramadan and Eid in collaboration with them. So that's something that we've done. But apart from that, all the other products, we represent brands. We've got a beautiful brand from France, which is Jeco. A lot of people will know it. It's games and gifts and toys. And they are a French brand, and they're worldwide, like in 54 countries or more. And then we represent them in the UAE and in the GCC. So if anybody wants to buy any Jeco products, then they will come to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about where else people can get some things. But talking mostly now, firstly on Party Camel. So, do you, Aisha, think that you're running an e-commerce business? Is this, I know there's a physical store, but what I mean by e-commerce business is the margins, the shipping, the distribution, the technical, the marketing, like all the things that go into, like, was there funding needed? Like all the difficult things about setting up an e-commerce business. Is that mainly what this is?
Absolutely, yeah. That's how we started as well 10 years ago. And it was never in my plan. Like I never had a dream to own a shop, or how maybe some people would grow up and say, oh, I'd love to have a gift shop, or I'd love to have, so that was never, it just kind of as a byproduct in the end. But we are first and foremost an e-commerce business, I would say, definitely. So we started with the Party Camel shop, the website. So it was only e-commerce, so people could go to the website and they can order things, and then we would pick, pack and deliver those to them. And we still do that to this day. So that's the core of our business, most definitely. And then we also work with other companies like Mum's World, for example. So Mum's World would have all of our products on their website, and then as customers order from there, we would then fulfill all the orders for them. We would pick, pack and dispatch those. And then we work with a few other, First Cry, with Noon, Now. So yeah, which is very popular at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And so moving backwards, so that you told us when the warehouse and when the shop was in Al Quoz, but some of the milestones along the way, when was the first license? When did you decide on the payment gateway? When was the first shipping? And sort of what are the stages that you went on? And at any stage were you outsourcing something that then you brought in-house?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. All the time. So every year there'll be something that we need to look at and we need to fix. So I started off in 2013, just to give you a very quick recap. So 2013 was my storeroom at home. I had a large storeroom and we would pick and pack. 2014 is when we signed a deal to supply supermarkets. So we supply Waitrose and Spinneys. And it was like candles and plates and napkins. So things like people would go to the supermarket, maybe they're picking up a cake, maybe they have a barbecue at home or a party, and then they can easily access those products. So that, for me, was a big challenge, and it was a lot to take on. Looking back now, I was barely completed 1 year in business, so I started off with a free zone license, started off with a website, and that was pretty much all I needed to get going. And then once I signed this contract to supply the supermarkets, then the whole business changed, because then I needed an onshore license and I needed a different setup. I needed obviously more product. I couldn't do that from my storeroom anymore. So then in 2014 is when I took a mainland license, and then I outsourced, because I didn't want to take on the responsibility straight away of having a warehouse and having all the infrastructure and everything else to deal with. So we had started working with Aramex, and they had an e-house back in the day in Al Quoz where they would support the smaller businesses. So we bought a ton of product, put it in Aramex for them to warehouse and fulfill. And then we had an office. So I took an office in the Al Jude Center where Tom and Serge is, the building. So in all this time, 10 years, we've been in that so we're literally opposite on the other side of the road.
Okay, wow.
So we were in the Al Jude Center. We had an office there, and that's when I started hiring a team and merchandisers to manage the stores. And that, to be honest, for the next 2 years, I was focusing more on distribution. So we were very quickly, we had a lot of different stores. We were everywhere, like wherever you would go, you'd find some products there. And then one of the main challenges that I found with the retail landscape here in Dubai, that a lot of the retailers, and that continues to this day, where when they sign the local contracts for supplying, they do them on a consignment basis. So they don't want to buy up front. And if they do buy, they always have a clause, which is sale or return. So that put a huge strain on our business. So at first it was like, okay, say yes, and you'll figure it out later. No, I think figure it out first, and then that would be my advice.
Good advice, yeah.
Yeah, so because we were like, okay, yeah, we'll figure it out, it'll be fine. But it wasn't. Like those 2 years could have killed us, 2-3 years, because we were buying a lot of product, right? And then we're supplying them. So say we have 11, 12 stores, right? And we've got all the product for, I don't know, say Halloween. And Halloween is a short window to sell those. And then as soon as that finishes, they're like, well, here you go.
Wow.
And then what do you do with all of that, right?
That's fascinating insight. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a huge, huge challenge. So we had to quickly kind of pivot, if you will, and say, okay, do you know what? We'll supply you with smaller orders, just what you need. And we have to renegotiate some of the contracts and everything. And then with some of the, say the supermarkets, right? They're not geared towards, they're like, no, we don't want to take any risk, right? That's all on you. So we had to then be very selective about who we worked with. So then it was more a case of, let's pause, take a bit of a back step and look at what's working and what's not. And what was very interesting 2-3 years into the business, that my full focus and my team, we were all killing ourselves with, because you have to supply each of the stores. So, the merchandise. So it'd be like, I remember one particular, maybe 2015, around the end of the year, going to Waitrose and Altania and seeing, and our displays are almost empty and there's hardly anything. And I'm like, oh my God, I called the merchandiser, where are you? And he said, I'm at da-da-da-da-da, and I only went there the day before yesterday, and it was all fine, and da-da-da-da-da. So that was a big challenge for me because, I have merchandisers, and if they tell me they've been somewhere, I can't go and check if they've actually been or not. So that was a big
So what happened
challenge.
on that occasion? He'd sold out in the day.
Yeah.
And they weren't replenished.
And they weren't replenished,
Okay.
right? And then everything was a mess and everything. So you needed somebody to go there every day because our contract was that they would give you the space and we had to manage that.
And this could be a merchandiser that works for you. It could be a third party, but it's not the
store's
It's not the
responsibility.
store.
It's your responsibility. Yeah. So they were employed by us. And that was one of the moments where it was, I cannot do this. It was a big, and then when I looked, 2 years down the line, and you look at the numbers and everything, and you think, hang on here. So while we've been busy with all of this, online has been growing. And all of a sudden, when you look at the revenue figures, it's almost 50-50 and that was staggering to look at that, to look at the numbers and say, well, we're pouring everything into this here. And a lot of the times we're not even getting paid for, not mentioning any names at all.
And you're taking a lot of risk as well because you're importing, you're distributing, and there's no guarantee of the sale.
Exactly, yeah. So that was a huge eye-opener at that point. And then I decided do you know what? Let's focus more on online. Let's focus more on e-commerce. So we slowly started to kind of come out of some of those contracts and come out of some of those stores. And then we really, at one point, we were like, okay, let's sell what we can. And then I think that kind of coincided nicely with some other players entering the market. I think a year or so later, we had Noon opening up. So we had a good relationship with Noon. We met with the buyer there, and they gave us a store-in-store. So that started doing quite well in Mum's World, because before that we were, okay, if people want to buy, they can come to Party Camel. We've got our own website. But then at that point you realize, these marketplace, they also, they can reach a lot more people, right? And they have a lot more.
But how did you think of that strategically in that, in a sense, Party Camel is a marketplace bringing in other brands. And then how were you comfortable working with another marketplace in terms of, what would stop Noon or Mum's World going to the big brand in France and saying, well, you don't need Party Camel?
Because we had worked with them for quite a while then.
Yeah, and take your time. We'll cut this bit. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, so go again. Yeah. Okay, no problem.
You can cut this bit. I don't know.
Yeah, don't worry. I stumbled earlier. Don't worry. Take your time. Yeah, you can stop whenever.
And I'll have one more sip. Okay.
So I can tee it up again. Yeah. So that's quite brave it's quite open-minded to have a partnership approach where you as the marketplace, in effect, you'll also work with other marketplaces. Did you have a good enough relationship, or how can you protect Party Camel so that Noon or Mum's World don't go direct to the partner in France?
So the brands that I work with, I handpick them, and we have a very good relationship with them. So we work with them for a long time, and they also believed in us. So once we bring the product here, we bring enough then to serve the whole market. So for example, if they cannot do that from where they are, they don't want to have 50 inquiries or from all different, and then have some small orders and some larger and some payment terms and this and that. So they would rather deal with one person. So they just deal with us. And then if anybody was to go to them, they say, okay, you can go to Party Camel and they'll take care of you.
But
so I think in a way, as long as the numbers are there, I think you're safe, right?
But that's a distribution business as opposed to an e-commerce.
Yeah.
So, are you trying to grow traffic onto Party Camel? And this was going to be one of my questions, in that Mum's World obviously caters across the board for anything for the child or for the mum at home. And then Party Camel is one element to it. But, do you want Party Camel to be that sort of e-commerce brand that is synonymous with celebrations and things at home?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think what kind of differentiates Party Camel and our e-commerce website is that when people go there, they go for a particular reason. They'll go there because they have a celebration. It's a one-stop destination. So you know that if you're having a party, if you're having a gathering, whether it's your 40th, your 50th, or your grandma's 90th, whatever the occasion, baby showers, you can go to one place and you can get everything that you need. And the customer that will go to maybe Mum's World or Noon or First Cry, they might be looking for an everyday product or something else, and they might come across something in particular, but it's not your party destination.
Yeah.
So yes, we do get business through them, and we do get orders, but it's not. And they do focus on selling. Like for example, we have a good relationship with the First Cry, and they do a lot of toys and games and gifts, and they kind of focus on that. But I think where Party Camel is different is that we cater purely to celebrations.
And so on the technical side, do you manage the website yourself? How has that changed over the years? We've seen a lot of evolvement in the UAE on payments and fintech. What are some of the hurdles and solutions that you've put in place?
For the website, so we still have the same website that we had from day one, which was built through with an independent web developer. So it's a one-man show. Then he builds websites, and it's a custom built platform. And over the years, we've added bells and whistles to that, and we've kind of grown on that. So, it has been on my list of things to do to one day look at changing that platform, or maybe coming, because there's a lot in the market now. There's Shopify, and there's lots of different things that you can do, and lots of different plugins and all. But we're quite happy with the website that we have, and then we did a rebrand about maybe 5 years ago with Bloom Branding. It's a female-owned business, and they're beautiful, and they work with other female-owned businesses. So they did all the branding for us, and we work with them still to this day. So that's been really nice. So that gave the website a fresh feel with a new logo and new brand identity and all of that. So I think that was. That it looked like we had a new thing, but the website itself was exactly the same. It was just the images and everything that were updated. Yeah.
And, for other people who are thinking of the challenges here, is that what about inventory management and asset management on the website and in the store? What systems do you have in place?
So for the inventory management, and again, it's just good old fashioned Excel.
Staying on top of things, yeah.
Staying on top of things. And the website has a built-in inventory management system, which is pretty good and it's pretty powerful. And then for accounting and all of that, we use something called Xero. You might have come across it. It's a cloud-based accounting software, and it's really good. They also have... there's another inventory management platform called Unleashed, which plugs into Xero, which is really good as well. But we haven't taken that step yet because we have a really good system in place, and they can talk to each other. So they've been programmed. So all the orders received through the website go directly into Xero. Everything is automated. So I think that's been one of my key focuses as well over the years, is to simplify things, keep things simple, especially after those first few years that I had with, trying to do too much too soon, and try and automate as much as you can. And I think in e-commerce, you kind of can as well. You can automate a lot of the processes, which we've been doing, over time, and hence we can have a smaller team.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like you do a lot with the size of the team, but also, there's so many softwares in the market that can promise us lots of things, but actually it's about finding a system that works for you.
Absolutely, yeah. And works for what you, and as long as it does what you need it to do. I mean, for us, yes, we have a lot of we have about 6,000 different products in the warehouse, like 6,000 SKUs, and then to manage all the different things, and I have a good warehouse team, so
it's quite a lot
organized,
for it.
They're very and that's one of my big things. I'm like, everything has to be neat and tidy and in its place. So if you came to our warehouse and did a tour, you wouldn't find a piece out of place, which I'm very proud of.
Nice, I can imagine. But so it's quite a lot for so what would be a sort of a niche. I was here around the time when you started your business. I was working in Business Central Towers, and on the ground floor there was a party shop there.
Yes.
I don't know if it's still there, but I don't think I've ever shopped in it. But I think it's quite interesting. You have you describe some of the celebrations, but you're right. There's so many different nationalities, so many things celebrated here, but also sort of the online purchasing for these celebrations and gifting. We interviewed the founder of Joy Gifts in the past on this as well, and it really opened my mind to what a thing this category is, right? Yes. And so while you aren't necessarily in gifting, it is about celebrations, it is about birthdays and things like that. Do you see going beyond Party Camel? Have you ever been asked to create events around birthday parties and things like that as well?
Oh, absolutely. All the time. When people come into the shop or they buy online, they buy the pretty things and they say, can you help us to set it up? Or, they'll see a picture on Instagram of the beautiful table. It's like, can you do that for me? Because a lot of people, either they're a bit not scared, but they're not brave enough to try it themselves. They're like, no, I'd rather leave this to the experts. And we always try to encourage them and say, no, you can do this, You don't need a lot. You just need some pretty plates, napkins, some candles, party hats, balloons. That's all you need, to set the scene for a nice celebration. So we do try to encourage. And I feel that doing events and doing party setups is a whole different business, because it's services then you're providing, and for us we supply goods. So at the end of the day, we're an e-commerce business. We deal with FMCG products, right? And it's a very, very different business model than doing event setups, right? It's you would with event setups and then initially when I first started as well, I kind of toyed with that idea. And another reason when me and my husband spoke about it, said, well, you want to work around your kids. And a lot of times the events are on a weekend, or they are at that time, right, when you want to be with your children. So that was one of the reasons why I started the retail shop and the online party shop, to give me more flexibility personally also. So I think events is a very different business, and I'm quite happy with so we have to kind of explain when people come in and say, well, we're a party shop and you can buy all the things that you need from here, and we can of course recommend them, because there's many event planners that we work with, that we supply as well, and we can recommend them something if they really want to say, okay, no, I want somebody to come in and do everything for me, then we work with other people who can do that.
It's impressive that takes business discipline, isn't it?
Absolutely, because you can so easily go in so many different directions, and I think it's hard to also say no. Right, because you think you can do it. This is pretty easy, right? You hire a few people and they can go and blow up some balloons and do a backdrop, and it's easy enough. But it is hard to be disciplined. And I often, and a lot of people say to me, well, but you're missing out on a lot of the market, right? Because that's what people want. And that's what But
then there's many other events companies who don't make it, right? And they're just focusing on one thing and they can't still make it. So it shows that you do need that to have the success that you had, is to do it, that sort of focus. But so in terms of the interest of, it was interesting you pointed out the data of online versus distribution. But over the years, what are the most common things people are purchasing, and what are the trends that you see on Party Camel?
The most, it's always astounding with it's plates and napkins. That's what we sell the most of, and candles. Yeah, so that's really something. I guess anybody, if it's a party planner, if it's you at home, those are the basic things that you need. And and when they're nice and pretty. So say you come in here and you've got like a confetti around, and you've got some napkins to say, if you're turning 40, and acknowledging that, or the candles. And I think it puts everybody in an instant party mood, right? You feel, it's a celebration happening. So those are the basics, I would say. Yeah,
I'm actually turning 40 in 2 months, so I'll go on Party Camel.
You'll have to come in and we'll do some balloons.
Coincidence that you mentioned it. But no, that's fascinating. But also, there are, obviously it's seasonal. We've just had Eid, and then there's birthdays that are happening all the time. But have you seen sort of uplift in different types of celebrations as different sorts of nationalities come to Dubai? And are there different trends that, suddenly there's a demand on some products that you didn't need 5 years ago?
Yes, I feel now, especially more and more, like this year, right after Easter, for a whole week more, we had still people ordering Easter and having parties. And then, and somebody wanted to collaborate on a party, and it was the Orthodox Easter. And I think in Russia, maybe they mainly celebrate that a lot. So that was something new that I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So even I think in after Christmas, right? There's something else. About a week or so. So I think we absolutely everything, right? We celebrate like now we came. So it was Ramadan. Then it was Eid, and now it's it's the King's coronation on 6th of May. So that's next month. Then we've got a Father's Day in June. So we're always looking ahead, and we've already now done our purchases for Halloween and Christmas, because that takes a long time and you have to do that well in advance. Yeah. So you don't realize how much work goes in. It was actually at the beginning of the year when we start planning for Halloween and Christmas already. Yeah.
And talking about that, kind of two questions sprung to mind. One about the pandemic, but mostly around the planning of events and occasions, and then to do it your marketing. You've got quite an active presence on social media. How much does digital and online marketing drive purchasing, and how does that work? Do you do sort of lower funnel? Do you do a lot of sort of PPC, like Facebook ads and things like that? Or do you do more sort of word of mouth, or do you do more sort of branding, awareness branding?
Yeah. For us, it has overall it's been word of mouth. I don't come from a marketing background, and I didn't understand even the whole power of marketing. So for me, it's like good old-fashioned hard work and word of mouth. And your friend will tell your friend, her friend, and then they will tell. So it's been a lot of that. But I've noticed in the last sort of 1 year, 2 years that influencer marketing is becoming quite big. And that's something we're kind of tapping more into. And it's been more, for us, it's been more reactive rather than active, because, a lot of people come to us and say, would you like to collaborate? Like I was saying earlier, So, we would give them the products, and they're celebrating something, and then they would
tag you and promote you and things like that.
Yeah. So that's been amazing for us. And I think we've been in quite a lucky position, because everybody has something to celebrate, right?
Yeah.
At some point. So that's been quite a nice thing. So now it's something that we want to actively market. But otherwise, it's just been organic growth. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so sometimes, influencers can be quite expensive if you work with them directly, but in that sort of way, it's indirect. And for you, yes, there's inventory costs, but actually, the cost of products with no marketing on top can sometimes be an effective way to market a business.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's also probably been our saving grace as well. And we've probably been doing that and been doing the marketing without actually thinking we're marketing, right? Because we're like, okay, yes, sure, we can send you a box of,
and indirectly then that's like sampling, isn't it? And then they get used to, and if they see a good service, then next time they might pay for it.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or they'll come in and they say, oh my God, I didn't know that you had gifts as well, or games as well, and then they'll come in and absolutely.
So talk a little bit more about the sort of competitive space. How do you see things now in the market in terms of competition?
Yeah, no, we do. We do face competition because I do find that, when you have something and it works, you will have other people who want to also have a business, right? And have to think, okay, well, this works. And so, yes, we do. But what I try to do is not look what other people are doing, and we kind of keep our heads down and do what we do. So yes, no, there is a lot of people in the market also who are doing that. But what I find is that we are quite we're authentic and we're genuine in what we do, and it's been the same from day one. So we haven't gone off course, or we haven't done like 10. We do what we did from the beginning. So yeah.
Was it a bootstrap business?
Sorry, was it
a bootstrap?
Absolutely, yeah.
Was there a point where you broke even? Is that a year was it a year or 2 years or 3 years?
It was 3 years, yeah.
3 years.
It was 3 years, and it was really 3 years. I was if this doesn't work. And I think, and luckily, somebody must have said to my husband at some point that if you're breaking even at 3 years, you're good.
He heard it somewhere.
He heard it somewhere.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, and we kind of kept to that. I kept reminding, because he was like, this business is bleeding us money.
Yeah.
And especially because in year 2, I'd already taken on these accounts, and we had to invest then a lot of money to buy the product. And then we had all the overheads go up, right? Yes, we were outsourcing the warehousing, but still there's a cost to it. And then there's a team, and then there's merchandise. And so there was a lot more outgoing than there was incoming in year 2 and year 3. And so by year 3, though, having had all those expenses and done everything else, we managed to somehow, I think a few big orders saved us, wholesale orders. From around, like some shop came and said, okay, do you know what? And they'll order a big order, and we had a few of those, and that's what saved the business.
Amazing.
Then, yeah.
That's
and
so
we're
good.
like, okay, even after all of that, we've managed to break even. So if we do this, and this can work. Yeah.
And, did you raise funds after that?
No.
And people could raise funds just for a warehouse, right? Like they could raise funds for capital expenditure, and even
I didn't know that.
Okay. No, but as in,
I'm joking.
no, maybe as a small business, but people would find things to spend money on. I'm sure you would have, found things to spend money on, whether it's expanding as, some e-commerce competitors can raise a lot of money. Were you seeing sort of headlines about like fundraising that people are doing in e-commerce and thinking, maybe we'd do that? Or were you more comfortable with understanding what is a business and the margins and operating it in that way?
I think, it has. Don't get me wrong. I have thought about it over time and over the years. I'm like, oh, geez, if only I had the money, I could do this, and this, and I could do it so much quicker. Instead of it taking me 5 years, it would take me a year, and especially when it comes to producing new products. So for Ramadan and Eid, we've only done very small curated collections, and I was thinking, if I had the money, oh my God, the amount of products that we could make and the amount of things that we could do. But I've just been so busy overall with managing the business and managing everything as it is, because I'm very hands-on and I'm there on a day-to-day basis. So I haven't had the capacity, and I feel I feel that doing fundraising and growing, it's a full-time job. Initially anyway, right, to try and convince someone to invest in you, invest in the company. So for me, I've focused on organic growth, and and I always keep reminding myself of the goals which I set out when I first started the business, which was to be financially independent, have something to do, and have flexibility, do something I love. And I said, okay, I've ticked all those boxes and some. And I'm kind of happy with it. But I do get that, especially now with the 10 years coming up, I do get a bit of itch. Well, what's next?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I kind of touched on the pandemic, but didn't necessarily bring it up. Was that a difficult time, or how did your business get through it?
Okay. I think the pandemic was, for us, for our business, it did wonders, because everyone turned to online during that time. So 2020, we had our best year ever. And one of the other reasons for that was that I think we barely closed for a few days. We didn't close throughout the whole pandemic. And because we had some of the contracts with the supermarkets, so we had this letter to say that we were an essential business. And you could still operate. So even during lockdown, I think we only had 1 or 2 weeks or whatever, we were still able to deliver and still able to operate. And a lot of people, and then also with the celebrations, a lot of people have started having smaller celebrations and at home. Rather than going and splashing, wherever they would go in a play area or anywhere. So we saw a lot more celebrations on a smaller scale. So if it's your birthday, even if you're in lockdown, you're at home, you still want to mark that occasion. So I think that's where Party Camel, because then they would maybe go online and pick up some candles and party hats and some balloons or something.
Yeah.
So that was. A good time.
Yeah, definitely. The e-commerce picked up a lot. Yeah. And, talking about the e-commerce journey, are there areas that you think you can invest in more? Do you manage the delivery yourself? Like you pack the products, but do you have people driving to the home? And do you sort of the last mile, or do you partner with someone for that as well?
Yeah, no, I'm a great believer in outsource whatever you can. And I've always done that. So we've never done our own deliveries. We've always had good delivery partners and also from the very beginning as well. So we have a very good relationship with them, and and we have multiple now for different things. If you're shipping to the GCC, somebody does it faster, somebody does it, and so we know. So we have maybe about 5 different delivery partners, and then we have somebody who delivers in the UAE next day, somebody who's really good for same day delivery. So we have our delivery partners, and we rely heavily on them. And I don't think it would be possible for us to do it ourselves, because so say you've got 5-10 deliveries, right? How can 1 or 2 people with all the traffic and everything, right? So for us, absolutely, I think the delivery companies have been we wouldn't be able to do it without them, I feel. And also with other things as well, whether it's when it comes to, I never had an in-house accountant, for example. I always outsourced that up until about a year ago. So whatever I've been able to outsource, I have, and keeping this team quite small in the process, yeah.
That's interesting. That kind of answered expansion in the region by having that approach, and by having a digital site with a license here, you can reach other markets. Is that how you've done it? And,
yes.
And which markets have been sort of good for you?
Absolutely. So we've, I think maybe about a year ago or slightly more, we started supplying into Saudi, and that's a big market for us. So we're barely touching the tip of the
iceberg, the opportunity
there, because it's so much bigger, right? It's 10 times bigger than the UAE, or so there's a lot more opportunity. So I think that would be a big market for us. But again, for us to enter there, again, that was another time when I thought of investment, because if we had investment, we could maybe have a warehouse in Saudi to serve that market, or we could do a lot more. So there's a lot of opportunity in the region, but I think maybe the early few years of the business taught me this, to do less but do it good, do it better. So I've been very cautious. In the first few years, I was yes, and then I've been like, I think 10 times before I say yes to anything now. So
that's good. Steady, running it in a steady way. So I should come into the end. You've been running the business in the UAE for a long time. What's your view on the region in terms of a place to run a business and the outlook? Are you optimistic about the future of running Party Camel here? Oh,
absolutely. I think if anything, year on year, it gets easier and easier and easier. Like if I think of the first few years, even when it came to going and renewing the license and doing all the basic things, like now you can just do everything on a portal, and even with the visas and everything, we have a PRO company, and we just send them one email, and they'll. It's easy. I feel setting up a business now, and it has gotten so much easier, and everything's much more accessible. And I think it's a bright future. I think there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of things people can do. Yeah, I mean, and when I first started with the e-commerce, because at the time it was tricky with the delivery. Like the courier people wouldn't know where they were going, right, with the addresses and all of that, and they were like, because there'll be 5 street fours in Jumeirah, for example. So if you put street 4, then they'd have no idea. And I think we've come a long ways from 2013 to now. And I always how e-commerce was in Europe, in the UK, or in Germany, or all these different places. But now I feel like we've surpassed that of what they are what they are doing, we are doing much more. Like, same day delivery within 3 or 4 hour slot. You can do so much more.
Yeah, definitely. So the parts of that, by the different sort of unit economics about labor to be able to deliver things fast and everything like that means we've caught up a lot in e-commerce.
We've caught up, we've surpassed.
Yeah, definitely. And there's been such an adoption. People want things so fast as well.
Yeah.
So that's great. I kind of forgot to mention it, but when we were talking earlier about the brands and the products that you build in terms of having your own brand and products, and in relation to the UAE as a place that you could manufacture items, is that ever something you considered?
Absolutely, I would. I mean, if something could be made locally, I would be the first to say yes. But the thing with a lot of these products is that they require advanced sort of coloring and machinery, and the dyes, and a lot of the stuff is gold foiled, and it all has to be passed to stringent tests and everything, because it's consumable, like you eat off the plates and everything. So those facilities don't exist here in the market at the moment. So I'm hoping that's something that, or even, regionally, that would be amazing. Yeah.
And where do you bring most of those products in from?
And mainly from Europe, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, mainly from Europe.
Fascinating.
Germany, France, England, a little bit from the US. But US is a bit more tricky when it comes to shipping. So, yeah.
Yeah. And in terms of expansion and sort of next steps, a product roadmap, what do you have for this year and in the years to come?
So yes, again, I mean, I'd love to year on year maybe do more for Eid and Ramadan, and because that's very close to my heart, of having beautiful products to cater for those occasions. And then just doing more of what we already do, just making it easy. I think that's our goal, for the end goal for the consumer, to make it as easy as possible for them to celebrate in style at home.
Amazing. Well, thanks for sharing the story of the Party Camel. It's fascinating to see, and congratulations on 10 years.
Thank you.
Wishing you all the best.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation. We'll have such conversations with impressive startup founders and business owners in Dubai throughout the summer. We won't be going anywhere. We'll have one every week. So wherever you're traveling, you can rely on that episode drop on Fridays afternoons for a weekly listen. And thank you as always to Ali Khalil and Shahir Al-Kindi, who produced the show and put it together. You can subscribe on smashy.tv or any of the mobile apps or the smart TV apps to watch it or to download it or to do whatever you want with the episode. You can also listen for free on podcast apps such as Angami, wherever you're listening to this now, or Spotify or Apple or Podio. If you want to receive more business news or just inspirational content, you can follow any of the Smashy social profiles. There are many of them. There's a lot of TikToks, there's a lot of Instagrams, Twitter, YouTube. Sometimes you can start at smashy.tv and then you can find the different ones like Smashy Crypto, Smashy Gaming. The business tech startup news is on Smashy Business. And next week we'll be back at 11 a.m. on Friday with another episode.